Hello, everyone. We are pleased to present to you the Brownstone Timeline, produced by the Portland Historical Society and the Brownstone Quorum of Portland, Connecticut. The timeline starts 200 million years ago and continues up to the present time of 2025. It is a great story of the town of Portland and the fascinating, rich history of Portland Brownstone. We hope you enjoy it.
We will be discussing the Portland, Connecticut Brownstone Timeline from 200 million years ago to today, the year 2025. We will be talking about things that have happened over the years. Several key dates will be identified on the slides as we proceed with this timeline. 200 million years ago, the Earth looked very different from today. The supercontinent Pangaea was starting to break apart. The continents, as we know them today, were starting to form. The yellow stars depicted in this slide refer to the location of Connecticut both before and after the breakup of Pangaea. With the continental shifting came earthquakes, causing changes such as the Eastern Highlands. Then, heavy rains carried sand, mud, and clay down these highlands into the lowlands, where the materials fanned out into rich layers thousands of feet deep, forming the sand-rich stone that we call brownstone. 200 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed the earth, leaving their footprints in the rich soils. Many dinosaurs' fossil tracks have been found in brownstone. There are many examples, including those at Dinosaur State Park in Rocky Hill, Wesleyan University in Middletown, and the Portland Library. This dinosaur print shown in this slide is from Dinosaur State Park in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. These prints are in the lobby of the Exley Science Center on Wesleyan University's campus in Middletown, Connecticut. The Portland Public Library has two large brownstone slabs with dinosaur tracks from the Portland Brownstone quarries. Thousands of years ago, after the glaciers melted, a cover of coarse gravel soil between 1 and 25 feet in thickness covered the top of the brownstone, hanging over the Connecticut River, which flowed into a big bend at Mattabesett, which was the name the native people had for the greater Middletown area. The presence of the river right next to the brownstone cliffs in Portland would prove to be a big advantage for quarrying, shipbuilding, and other industries in Portland. Ancient brownstone cliffs are depicted here, jutting out over the river in this artist's rendering. Now, there were native people who lived in Connecticut over 10,000 years ago. The Wangunk native people lived in the Mattabesett area, which was the current area of Greater Middletown, Connecticut. Wangunk means people at the bend in the river. The Wangunks lived in houses made of wood and bark, not brownstone. There are many research articles on the native Wangunks, with some new work currently being done by members of the Greater Middletown community. The Wangunks were part of the Algonquin native tribes. In 1650, Europeans, mostly English settlers, began arriving in Mattabesett. They arrived from western Massachusetts. And in 1653, the new settlers changed the name of the community from Mattabesett to Middletown, referring to the distance perhaps midway between the settled areas of Hartford and Old Saybrook. The Middletown selectmen gave permission for the new settlers to build boats in East Middletown, which would later become the town of Portland. This historic mural is in the auditorium in the Brownstone Intermediate School on Main Street in Portland. It was painted by Harold Barber, an artist who worked for the Works Progress Administration, WPA, in the 1930s. In 1690, James Stancliffe, a new English settler, built his house in East Middletown. It is thought to be the first house built in Portland. It was built on the Brownstone Cliffs beyond the end of Commerce Street. This area is now part of the deep, water-filled North Quarry. For many years, brownstone was used for headstones and house foundations. James Stancliffe was well known for his headstones made of brownstone. In 1767, nearly 80 years after Stancliffe built his house, East Middletown, which included both East Hampton and Portland, became a new, separate town. It was named Chatham, perhaps after William Pitt, Earl of Chatham. This view of Chatham is looking from the upper houses, known as Cromwell today, as it may have looked in 1836. Quarrying as well as shipbuilding were thriving. In 1841, Portland was declared an independent town, separate from Chatham. In cities such as New York, local building rules had been passed that required the use of stone or brick to minimize damages due to fire. Portland Brownstone would become in demand. It met the building rules and it had other qualities, making it very attractive. The color was uniform and the stone was easy to carve and fashion to the requirements of the architects. This picture is part of a mural painted by Harold Barber when he worked for the Works Progress Administration in the 1930s. It is in the auditorium of the Brownstone Intermediate School in Portland. New steam engines were used to increase the production of stone removal. Beginning in the 1850s, Irish immigrants provided the needed labor for the quarries. Later, in the late 1880s, Swedish immigrants, and later, at the turn of the century, Italian immigrants and others would come to work in the quarries. Early on, oxen-drawn carts were used to move the stone from the quarries to the waiting ships, named schooners. By the 1890s, railroads were used to haul the stone to the schooners docked on the Connecticut River. The schooners, many built in Portland, were towed by steamboats to Long Island Sound and then sailed onto major cities along the coastal United States. This is an artist's rendering of the working quarries, drawn by Culmer Barnes. The schooners were also known as brown-stoners. This is a picture of the rail lines in the Middlesex Quarry. This 1896 Ladies' Day photo includes ancestors of the Dillon family, who live in Portland today. The city of Middletown owned a part of the quarries and used this resource to entice a college to locate in Middletown. Wesleyan University ended up agreeing to locate in Middletown, and they used the brownstone to build its campus. Brownstone buildings were so common from about 1850 to 1890 that the period has been informally called the Brownstone era. Quarrying brownstone was a massive operation. More than 800 men, 200 oxen, and 60 horses worked in the Portland quarries. This photograph includes the quarry workers, the men, horses, and oxen. More than 10 million cubic feet of stone were removed from Portland quarries to build the many brownstone buildings in cities, towns, and colleges throughout the United States. The photo on the top left is Trinity Church in Main Street, Portland. The cornerstone is dated 1874. It took several years to complete due to an economic depression from 1873 to 1879. The photo on the top right is on Capitol Avenue in Hartford, built around 1871. And the photo at the bottom of this slide is the Buck Foreman Building, where the Portland Parks and Recreation Office is located, along with the Police Department and the Youth and Family Services Department. In 1884, Connecticut Steam Brownstone Company was established. It took the quarried brownstone and fashioned it into finished pieces as specified by architects. Work was done on site near the quarries. This engraving, entitled The Connecticut Steam Brownstone Company, Portland, Connecticut, shows the quarry, and in the foreground, its docks on the Connecticut River with moored boats. A lithograph of the engraving hangs in Liberty Bank in Portland. These gantries were used to haul the brownstone to the schooners waiting on the Connecticut River to be loaded. By the year 1900, brownstone was losing its place in the building industry due to fashion changes and the advent of steel and concrete. In 1932, Portland built its junior-senior high school at 314 Main Street, featuring Portland Brownstone. In 1936, the Connecticut River had an unusually high freshet and flooded the quarries. Then, during the Great Hurricane of 1938, the river once again flooded the quarries. This was the last blow to the quarrying industry. The quarries closed and remain flooded to this day. This photo shows the Connecticut River flooding into the quarries on March 19, 1936. For many decades, the quarries sat abandoned, with little activity other than trespassing by adventure-seeking individuals and dumping of unwanted items such as stolen cars and trash. This Hartford Courant photo from August 6, 1969, shows the state police dive team retrieving a car that had been stolen in Middletown. No one was in the car when they brought it to the surface. This slide shows trash that was retrieved out of the quarry. In the 1990s, there was a plan to build housing along the quarries with a marina and access to the Connecticut River. However, these plans failed. In 1994, quarrying of brownstone in Portland returned. Connecticut Brownstone Quarries, LLC, rented quarry land from the Guido family on Brownstone Avenue. Michael Meehan owned and ran the business, which was established at the northernmost section of the quarries. The brownstone was used for repair work on aging brownstone buildings such as Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., and Wesleyan University in Middletown. The quarry closed in 2012. The Connecticut Brownstone Quarries operated for 18 years. Mike Meehan, who ran the operation at the Connecticut Brownstone Quarries, is a trained geologist and is now retired from quarrying. He still occasionally visits Portland. In 1999, the town of Portland bought the water-filled North Quarries and riverfront for $1,050,000. The town of Portland acquired the water-filled South Quarry in 2000 for no consideration. Allison Guinness, a graduate student at Wesleyan University, conducted extensive research on the brownstone quarries, which provided the basis for the quarries being named a National Historic Landmark in 2000. In 2000, the nonprofit Brownstone Quorum was established by local volunteers. The Brownstone Quorum was tasked by the Portland Board of Selectmen to find uses for the quarries the town had just purchased. The Brownstone Quorum volunteers are shown here with John Monroe of the National Park Service Rivers and Trails Division. John is the first person in the upper row of this picture on the left. Research was conducted by the Brownstone Quorum to find out how the community wanted to use the quarries and riverfront land. The research showed that people wanted recreational uses, educational uses, and commercial uses. From 2001 to 2004, 2 major studies were conducted by the town. They included the Carol R. Johnson Report and the Williams Marketability Study. These studies guided the development of the quarries and riverfront park in 3 key areas: recreation, education, and commercial development. Many of the suggested findings from these studies have been implemented, with updates expected soon. In the area of recreation, several activities have been implemented at and near the quarries on Brownstone Avenue. The Brownstone Adventure Sports Park is in the quarries, Evolution Scuba, Portland Riverfront Park, and Quarry View Site. In the area of education, there are geological field trips, interpretive signs about the history of the area have been installed, there is a story walk for children at the riverfront, and the Quarry View Site had many educational sessions. Commercial operations include the Brownstone Adventure Sports Park, Evolution Scuba, Charlie's Water Wagon, and Quarry View Site, and the future spot of the Nordic Spa. Starting in the year 2000, Brownstone Quorum conducted promotional marketing of the quarry properties. The Brownstone Quorum volunteers promoted the quarries in several ways, including free boat rides in the quarries, festivals, and other activities. They also led in the cleanup of the quarries. Brownstone Quorum volunteers gave free rides in canoes and kayaks in the quarries for 2 years, giving hundreds of rides and introducing many people to the quarries, upfront and personal. This picture is of Brownstone Quorum volunteers giving rides. Hiking trails were blazed by Brownstone Quorum volunteers. Public festivals were held. The annual Brownstone Festival, spearheaded by the Brownstone Quorum, started in 2005. It included free music, food, and education on the quarry's history. The Portland Historical Society provided historical information on the quarries. Food was provided courtesy of the Brownstone Quorum. Music was performed. Conversation and socialization were strongly encouraged. Brownstone carving demonstrations were held at the festival. Art was displayed by local artists at the annual Brownstone Festival. Free hay rides were provided along the riverfront. In 2006, the town signed an agreement to lease the quarries to a commercial operation, as recommended by the Williams study. The lease has paid over $5 million in fees to the town of Portland since its inception. Thousands of people visit the park annually, coming from Connecticut and other states such as Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey. Once again, the quarries are producing jobs and income to a private business, as well as to the owners of the quarries, which is the town of Portland. Customers enjoy rock climbing and zip lining at Brownstone Adventure Park. In 2006, Main Street was improved. The historic Portland Brownstone rock was purchased from Mike Meehan from the Portland Quarry. The Brownstone Quorum built a pavilion to house and preserve the historic Brownstone Arch, an antique tool used in the quarry industry. The Portland Exchange Club built the Brownstone floor. This slide shows members of the planning team who organized the construction of the pavilion and raised funds from individual donations, commemorative bricks, and a State of Connecticut grant. The location of the Arch Pavilion on Main Street is a major downtown attraction in the town of Portland. A brass plaque entitled Brownstone Arch explains the history of the arch, including the story of its carefully designed restoration. The completed Arch Pavilion is a proud accomplishment of the nonprofit Brownstone Quorum, Incorporated. Starting in 2005, the town of Portland and the Brownstone Quorum began to direct their efforts toward the redevelopment and use of the riverfront property. Historically, the riverfront area had been used as the dumping ground for rejected stone resulting from the quarrying operations. Except for the sewer right-of-way, the riverfront had been neglected for years. The riverfront was overgrown and ready to be rediscovered. Portland Parks and Recreation and the Brownstone Quorum worked together to build a riverfront park. With the use of nearly $1 million in State of Connecticut grants and local community support, the Brownstone Quorum and the town of Portland have improved the quarries and the riverfront, as recommended by the studies. The State of Connecticut Small Town Economic Assistance grants were put to work. Brownstone Avenue was connected to Middlesex Avenue. Sidewalks and a parking lot were created. The picnic pavilion was built. Bathrooms were installed. The stage with a canopy was built. Private funds and volunteer labor were also put to work. Eagle Scout projects were added. Benches, gazebo, volleyball court, story walk, and picnic tables. The labyrinth and meditation garden were designed and built. Pollinator gardens were planted. The Portland riverfront is being built along with educational signage. The following slides include pictures and details of the public and private contributions that have been made in the building of the Portland Riverfront Park. Volunteers cleared out the invasives in the Riverfront Park. Brownstone Avenue was connected to Middlesex Avenue with the use of state grants. New sidewalks were installed. A parking lot was built at the intersection of Brownstone Avenue and Middlesex Avenue. State grants paid for these installations. Town officials and volunteers were part of the groundbreaking for the picnic pavilion built in the year 2011. In 2012, the town of Portland installed power and water using the town of Portland Public Works crew and town funds. The pavilion was completed in 2012 with new picnic tables. In 2012, a performance stage was built using a state grant. Historically, this area had been used for the storage of explosives, which were occasionally used in the quarrying operations. This waste rock was found when the stage was built at the Portland riverfront. This is an example of the waste rocks that were deposited in this area by the quarry operators. The town of Portland Public Works crew installed a brownstone wall in front of the stage. The stone was donated by Michael Meehan. The band shell was installed over the stage with the use of a state grant. State and local officials joined together for the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the stage. In 2015, bathrooms were installed with the use of state grants. Private community contributions have been plentiful, including Eagle Scout projects such as benches along the riverfront in 2002. a volleyball court, a story walk for children, a gazebo with great views of the Connecticut River, and picnic tables along the riverfront. The Community Foundation of Middlesex County donated a buddy bench in remembrance of a young life lost too soon. The Brownstone Quorum, a 501c3 nonprofit, has provided funds and volunteer labor in the building of the Riverfront Park. The following slides represent only a few of the many Brownstone Quorum volunteers from 2000 to 2025. Brownstone Quorum received recognition from the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association. Art, music, and family activities are often held, as well as music and arts festivals and the Haunted Trail. The Haunted Trail was sponsored by Brownstone Quorum as a fundraiser for the Riverfront Park improvements every October from the years 2013 through 2018. In 2019, the town of Portland purchased 6 acres of riverfront land just south of the Riverfront Park. The land is a brownfield in need of cleanup due to years of gasoline and oil storage depots on the property. State brownfield remediation grants are being used, and plans are underway for commercial development on this land. This is a drone shot along the Connecticut River, taken before the blue tanks were decommissioned and removed from the property in 2020. In 2019, Dean Susie and Darlene Rice purchased the former quarry land owned by the Guido family of Portland. Mike Meehan had previously operated this quarry operation on this property. Dean and Darlene cleaned it up and repurposed the land. They established a nonprofit called Quarry View, where they welcomed campers, held drum circles, and sponsored artisan craft fairs. The Quarry View property was sold in 2024 for $2.5 million. A Nordic spa is going to be built on the property. The land had been purchased in 2019 for $300,000. This is a good example of the profitability of the brownstone quarries. This is a photo of Dean Susie and Darlene Rice, owners of Quarry View. In 2021, a labyrinth was built, funded by the sale of commemorative bricks sold by the Brownstone Quorum. The bricks were used to create a walkway to the labyrinth. The labyrinth was designed by Frank and Carol Winiski and built by Jim and Patrick Landry of Evergreen Landscaping. The labyrinth ribbon cutting was held in 2021 with Gary O'Neill, also known as Red Oak. Gary is a descendant of the Wangunk Native American tribe, and he performed a special Native American blessing ceremony. A large crowd of people attended the labyrinth ribbon cutting ceremony. Red Oak performed the labyrinth special blessing. The ribbon-cutting ceremony included town officials and Brownstone Quorum volunteers. This is the completed labyrinth. And this picture shows some of the volunteers who helped build the labyrinth. The Portland Leos planted an oak tree near the labyrinth in recognition of Earth Day in 2023. The labyrinth sign was designed and built by Frank Winiski. The Labyrinth Meditation Garden was completed in 2024. Starting in 2023, the Brownstone Quorum is in the ongoing process of building the Portland Riverwalk. The work includes planting native species, plants, and pollinator gardens. The Rockfall Foundation and the Community Foundation of Middlesex County are strong supporters, providing generous monetary assistance grants. Brownstone Quorum volunteers are building the Riverwalk. Artifacts were discovered as the Riverwalk was built. This is a view of the Riverwalk in its early development. Many new native tree species are being planted along the Riverwalk. Volunteers are providing ongoing maintenance of the newly planted trees. This is a picture of the beautiful Connecticut River, taken at the north end of the Riverwalk. A pollinator garden was started in 2023 along the Riverwalk. The pollinator garden attracts butterflies, birds, and other insects. The first annual Quarry Celebration and Artisan Craft Fair was held in 2024. More than 100 vendors and groups participate in this fundraiser annually. The event had begun first at Quarry View and then moved to the riverfront in 2024 after Quarry View had been sold. Three historic information signs were installed in Portland Riverfront Park using grant money from the Connecticut Humanities. Topics include the brownstone quarries, shipbuilding, and the rail lines used in the quarries. The Parks and Recreation Department runs several annual events in the Riverfront Park. Parks and Recreation and Youth and Family Services Little Hikers use the park. In summary, the quarries have contributed significantly over many years. Over the centuries, the Portland Brownstone quarries and riverfront have made remarkable contributions to Portland and beyond. In 2025, the quarries are still producing jobs and income. Over $5 million from Brownstone Sports Adventure Park have been paid over the years to the town of Portland in fees and taxes. In addition, new businesses such as the Nordic Spa are making new investments in the quarries. In 2025, the Riverfront Park, a former waste site for quarry operations, is providing major benefits to the community. The quarries and riverfront provide major benefits to the community, such as active and passive recreation, hiking trails, picnic areas, the labyrinth, and pollinator gardens. There is valuable economic development. The Brownstone Adventure Sports Park has paid a total of $5 million in fees to the town of Portland. The quarries, riverfront, the new Brainerd Place, and Main Street businesses all work together. The new Nordic Spa is expected soon. New riverfront commercial development is planned for the former brownfield site on the Connecticut River. Summer concerts and the Quarry Celebration Day Fair are held each year. Rental fees from weddings and other private events are paid to the Parks and Recreation Department each year. There is ongoing preservation of a National Historic Landmark, the famous Portland Brownstone Quarries. We leave you with a question. How do we ensure the quarries and riverfront are preserved for future generations? The answer is in your hands. Thank you for listening. This presentation was developed by the Brownstone Quorum and the Portland Historical Society, with special thanks to volunteers Frank Winiski, Carol Winiski, Tom Bransfield, Susan Bransfield, and Bob McDougall.